I'm getting so bored. How do I manage time in my classroom? I need to know what is all the time that have been given to us as a teacher. Let me search. Introduction. Presentation.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera everyone. What is on the classroom today? Like April, isn't it? So, today we will be discussing about making the most of classroom time. So, this chapter discuss issue of time and time management. How many hours do students actually spend in class engaging in academic learning? How do teachers overcome factors that disrupt academic learning time? So, knowing different types of time that is in the class and their significance, teacher will be able to plan and fully utilize an effective academic learning. So, without wasting our time, let's continue to discuss our first thing in this chapter, which is mandate time. Okay guys, let's continue to first thing in this chapter, which is mandate time. First of all, I want to ask all of you, did you ever go into school before? Of course, the answer is yes, isn't it? If not, you will not be here today. Did you ever think why you need to stay in school for this long, from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m.? Who is the one giving instruction for you to stay in this period of time? The answer is MOE, or Ministry of Education, is the one required school to be in session, and that session should be in certain period of time. So the certain period of time that you need to stay in school is the one we call it as a mandate time. The meaning of mandate time itself is actually the time that the state requires school to be in session. This mandate time is including recess, roll call, and also reciting prayer if you have reciting prayer session for each morning for your school. So, the meaning of mandate time, the time the state requires school to be in session. Actually, the state requires school to be in session. The state is only applicable for America and certain certain country. So, because America and certain country is apply for state control to each school in their state. While in Malaysia, MOE is the one who control school all over in Malaysia. So, if you are using context of Malaysia education system, it became the mandate time is the one who the time that the MOE requires school to be in session. Okay, thank you. Let's continue to next slide. As you can see on your screen, there is a flow chart that mandate time is planned by authority while facing COVID-19 cases in Malaysia. Let's start with MKN and KKM, which is Majlis Keselamatan Negara and Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia. Both of them will give advice to MOE, which is Ministry of Education. Then MOE will analyze and give a new mandate time to school. Then school will apply. Then again, MKN and KKM will analyze again the cases of current situation and give advice, and new mandate time will happen. So, this is only applicable before 9 November, before all school being shut down. Okay, before 9 November, for certain school, there is a cut time for 2 hours. For an example, there is a certain school for their actual mandate time is from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. However, being cut until 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. This is for their safety. Available time. So, available time is the time remaining from mandate time. It can be calculated by available time equal to mandate time minus time lost to absence minus special event and minus half days. So, the remaining of mandate time will become available time. In available time, school or teacher are able to have learning and lesson period. For an example, let's say for this group of students have 30 hours of mandate time for this week. They will have recess for 40 minutes, which is 0.67 hours from Monday to Friday, and roll call 20 minutes, which is 0.33 hours from Monday to Thursday. Assembly on Friday, which is 50 minutes for or 0.83 hours. And they also will celebrate Teachers' Day celebration for 2 hours. So the calculation for available time is 30 minus 0.7 hours times by 5 because they will have recess for Monday to Friday, and minus with 0.33 times 4 because they will have roll call from Monday to Thursday, and they need to minus 0.83 hours because of assembly on Friday, and they also need to minus 2 hours because of Teachers' Day celebration. So the remaining time is only 22.5 hours. That is available time left for those group of students for that week. They will have 22.5 hours of available time that week. That's all from me. I will pass it to next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zulfahmi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, my name is Uzair bin Munir. So, today I'll be presenting you guys about instructional time. But before we go further into the definition of um, instructional time, but let me briefly tell you something quite very, quite very, very interesting, quite interesting. It is instructional time is the time that was reduced to become from available time into the instructional time. So you must be wondering, what is this guy talking about? So as Fahmi said before, available time is the time that was mandated for teachers and students to be in school. What is the definition of instructional time? The, the instructional time is the time that is actually used for instruction. In other words, schools are responsible for the students while the students are required or expected to be actively engaged in the learning activities. Basically, if you understand what I'm trying to say, instructional time is the teachers and students' time so that they are engaging in learning activities. So basically, whatever they do, whatever they are doing, if they are engaging in the learning activities, that's what we call instructional time. It is not easy to manage time in the classroom, you know, because there are a lot of problems regarding managing classroom, especially time, because it's not that easy. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to say is um, there are a lot of factors to be contributing to why sometimes are reduced from this high to this high, you know. So basically what I'm trying to say is you as the teacher, you did your best, you know, to allocate the time from time to time so that, for example, your class is at 9 o'clock and end at 10 o'clock. But due to some reasons, let's say your class is in the west, but your next class in the east of the school. So it took a lot of time for you to go from the west to the east. So basically, that took the time, and if the time consumed about 10 minutes, so you start at 9:10 a.m., and you're going to finish at 10 a.m. still, and you have lost 10 minutes of your instructional time. So 50 minutes is your instructional time, and you have to fully utilize that. No additional time. You understand? Good. So basically, like I said, available time is the reduced time. Instructional time is the reduced time from available time. But to make it simple, I would say it is as a teacher's factor. Why? Because if students are in the class at 9 a.m., but the teachers still couldn't be there, basically there is still no instructional time happens, because instructional time is the engaging for students. But if teachers were not there, if they were not engaging in the learning activities, so they basically didn't learn. All right. So there are a lot of examples for the teachers factor. So basically, just a non-instructional activities. For example, taking attendance, distributing materials, collecting homeworks in class, especially, and just like I said, um, you know, moving from class to class for your next class. So it's basically took a lot of time. Engage time. So engage time is the time that was again reduced from instructional time becoming engage time. So again, I believe you must be wondering, what is this guy trying to say again? Okay, so worry no more. I will try to explain my best. Okay, so the definition of engaged time is the time that student spends working attentively on academic tasks. Basically saying, it is the portion of instructional time that students spend directly involved in learning activities. You must be thinking, so if you are teaching in a class, but your student doesn't focus in your class, you must be thinking, well, that's not our concern, to be honest. They just do whatever they want. I mean, we taught them, we did our part. So if they did not focus in the class, that's not our problem anymore. Well, I know, I know what you're trying to say, but we as the teachers not to teach them only, but we have to facilitate them. So in order to make them focus and have interest in learning, so we have to try to grab their attention as best as we can, because students are quite easy to get distracted. So to make it simple for you guys, okay, I will label this as the student's individual factor. When they lost their attention in the class, that's student's problem. But we have to facilitate them, we have to grab their attention back so that they can getting involved in the teaching and learning session. But you must be wondering, what are the examples of individual factors, students' individual factors? Well, one of them is they are most of the time daydreaming, right? So you must be thinking, this student is focusing on me all the time. Nice one. But as the matter of fact, when will I get married? So it's basically up to the student. So what else? Let's say when they have the other students walking past the class, or they are friends, so they must be like, oi, oi, ooh, ooh. So that's basically how they easily get distracted. Okay, so basically, engaged time is when teachers are actually teaching, but students are not necessarily paying attention. And just like I said, the amount of time you are or the teacher are devoted to instruction is good, greater than the amount of students directly engaged in learning, which, of course, it's at this below. As the Rosenshines in 1980 used to say that students to be on task about 70% of the time. So in the classroom, when you're teaching, 70% of the time they are in task. Another 30%, well, they could be staring out of the window. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. On to the next presenter.
After listening to our friend's explanation about mandated time, available time, instructional time, and engaged time, now it is my turn to explain about what is a productive learning time. What is a productive learning time? According to textbook Classroom and Management, productive learning time is the proportion of engaged time in which students are doing work that is meaningful and appropriate. Let me give you one situation. For example, in a school, Form 3 students in a science class spend about 15 minutes coloring a worksheet that show a diagram of flower parts. The student seems very absorbed and focused completing their task. My question here, is the student having a productive learning time? From my point of view, of course, it is not. What, what the purpose of the activities? The student already 15 years old, and why coloring activity would be worthwhile in secondary school? Don't you think so? Why I said so? This is because, according to Brodagen and Gettinger 2012, in the article saying that academic learning time or productive learning time is the amount of time students are actively, successfully, and productively engaged in learning relevant academic content. Not just that, it also stated that not only the quantity of time spent on an academic task, but also related cognitive, emotional, learner-centered variables such as self-motivation, initiative, and self-regulation. That is why the learning content and activities that will be delivered by a teacher is a very significant. Teacher must deliver the learning content or conduct the activities same with students' level. Then, so that we can enhance the students' critical thinking skills. Have you ever wondered how much time actually for a student having a productive learning time in their classroom? So, for the next, I will tell you about how much time is there anywhere for a productive learning time. According to the textbook, if you read on the chapter 8, a research has been made about the total time that left for productive learning time after the mandate time, available time, instructional time, and engaged time. So, I will go one by one. For a mandate time, as we know that this is the time that has been allocated for each period. So let's say in 1 year, we have 180 days in a school. And for one period, that will be allotted for 42 minutes. So the typical mandate school year is about 126 hours per year. And next is a available time. So after we minus the student absence and the event that held by the school, we assume the time that is reduced about 10 days. So 10 day time 42 minutes, the available time will be 190 hours per year. The next is the instructional time. Let's say the task for taking attendance, passing the material in the classroom consume about 22% of the period time. Then the instructional time leaving only 34 minutes from 42 minutes. Then the instructional time is 96 hours per year. And next is the engaged time. Let's say the student who engaged time in the class only 80%, then the time will be 77 hours per year. After that, the last is the productive learning time. So from the engaged time, let's say the student that work on meaningful appropriate tasks is just for 80%. So the productive learning time is only 62 hours per year. If you look at the graph, this is what I explained earlier. So, from the graph, we can see that the productive learning time is the 1/2 of the mandated time school per year. So how much time is there anywhere for a productive learning time? It's only 62 hours per year, which is half of the mandated time that has been allotted for the school. That is why it is very important for us to maximize and increasing students' productive learning time. This is because, according to Just and Westmer in their article, saying that at California elementary school site found that there are statistically significant and positive relationship between the number of instructional minutes in an academic year and school site standardized test score, meaning that there is a positive relationship between the instructional time in the school and their test, their result of study. In order to increase the students' productive learning time, there are three strategies that you can follow, which are maintaining activity flow, minimize transition time, and hold students accountable. For this point, I will explain in more detail, and for these 2 points will be explained by my friends. How to maintaining activity flow? So, I will give you some tips and you may apply it during practicum later. I hope it will be useful. First tip is avoid flip-flopping. Secondly, avoid stimulus-bounded events. And lastly, avoid overdwelling and fragmentation. And I will give the example about what is a flip-flopping, what is stimulus-bounded events, and what is dwelling and fragmentation. Okay, what is flip-flopping? Flip-flopping is when a teacher end an activity and then start another activity and then return back to the first activity. That's what we call as a flip-flopping. Okay, for example, in the classroom, a teacher has reviewing the homework with the student, and then after finish, the teacher asks the student to open their textbook and start to read inside the textbook. After that, in the middle, the teacher remember that she want to ask something about the homework. Then after she asked the student, then she return back to the textbook. And that the situation is what we call as a flip-flopping. What is stimulus-bounded events? Stimulus-bounded event is when a teacher are pulled away from the ongoing activity by stimulus that really doesn't need attention. For example, a teacher who is explained about mathematical problem at the board, and suddenly she noticed that one student was leaning on his left elbow as he works the problem on the desk. Then the teachers go to the student, and then she instruct him to sit straight, comment on his improved posture. After that, she returned back to the board. So this situation is what we call as stimulus-bounded events. Overdwelling and fragmentation. Overdwelling is when a teacher continuing to explain when students already understand, or preaching at length about appropriate behavior. And lastly is a fragmentation. So a fragmentation is when a teacher breaks an activity into components even though the activity could be performed as a single unit. And that's for overdwelling and fragmentation. So, in order for a teacher to maintaining activity flow, all of these threats must be avoided so that when activity proceeds smoothly and briskly, students can more involved in work and less apt to misbehave. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Hafizuddin Shafiq and I will continue this presentation about how to increase student learning time. From the previous, we have heard that students and teachers need more time to complete their educational tasks. So, the second way to increase student learning time is minimize transition time. As a teacher, we should prepare students for the transition. First of all, what is transition mean? Can you all guess what it means? Transition means the process or a period of changing from one state or condition to another. For the transition in classroom, it means a changing process between activity such as activity 1 to activity 2. Let's proceed with What is common situation that have faced by teacher in real classroom situation? Okay, I give an example. There always could be difficulty in closing out the first activity in class, especially if students are deeply engaged. Why this situation happen? This is because the student too excited, especially in game activity. So it's hard for the student to proceed to the next activity that a little board like read an article or so on. So how we as a teacher want to minimize the transition time when situation like that happen? Don't worry, here I have three ways to overcome this problem. First, advanced preparation. Second, use of transition routine. And third, clear beginning and ending. I will explain all this in the next slide. So advanced preparation, which means teachers should have a better strategies that support smooth transition between activities. The teacher must always take care to monitor time and give more attention to inform students when the class period is drawing to be closed. It will make sure that students are ready and prepared what they will do next. Here also a few examples of teaching's transition. Firstly, provide pre-corrections. The teacher have to reminder of the expected behavior before the transition begin. For an example, remind the student periodically about how much time is left before they will be changing the activities. Secondly, actively supervise the transition, which means the teacher itself has to walk around the room and using proximity to encourage students to engage in the appropriate behavior during the transition time. Second one, to minimize transition time is establishing routine. First, I want to explain the definition between routine and ritual. Routines mean something that is done at the same time, uh, in the same way every day or on any regular schedule. And ritual a bit similar to routine because they provide children with predictability. So, how establishing routine can minimize transition time? Well-established routine provide a structure to transition that help to prevent confusion and lost time. For example, the routine for entering the room is very clear. The student will come in, take their seat, take out their journal and begin on the journal topic, post on the whiteboard. Using this routine allow teacher to have student engage in meaningful activities while teachers taking attendance, checking homework and etc. They are important of routine. Establishing routine can help manage student behavior of student, provide predictability to student what will happen next, provide a proper structure in learning, and lastly, it can provide steps toward a specific goal, especially for teacher to reach the learning objective in class. Third, we move to clear beginning and ending. Beginning and ending are well and consistently set the tone for the classroom and help students know what to expect. Teacher can reinforce a sense of structure and consistency and communicate that the classroom is a place for learning. Beginning with a balance of learning and administrivia. What I mean to focus here is administrivia. It's like teacher taking attendance, passing out the complete assignment. How to say, it's more dealing with administrative tasks. In the beginning of the class, teacher should build a good teacher-student relationship to show teacher care about student, and of course activity start must be meaningful and tied to a specific goal for student. Next, establishing share activity that reinforce class unity. Same with the earlier, the teacher must begin the day with activity that establish and reinforce a sense of community and unity among students. For example, teacher greet student individually at the door, and also teacher verbally recognize student as a class and let student know they are welcome and cared for. And next, teacher should ending class with activity that enhance learning and discipline. It's more to teachers give homework reminder. These are structure of reminder for student. Plan a daily homework time. Take home everything needs. Do words neatly and carefully. Keep homework in a special place. And last, return homeworks on time. The next way to increase student time is hold student accountable. According to Merriam-Webster 2010, accountable is defined as responsibility. And then according to M. Scoof and Patrice 2010, student accountable is synonymous with student ownership for learning. Why accountable is need to the student? Because it helps students develop independent learner, and also they can maximize use of class time. The effect of accountability: the learner has fully responsible for her and his learning. According to O'Neill and McMahon 2005, involvement and participation are necessary for learning. How to hold a student accountable? First is communicating assignments and requirements clearly. It means that teacher have to communicate about homework assignment in clear or organized manner. For an example, before start doing homework, make sure teacher clearly explain, like student needs to use specific books and another. Good communicating between teacher and student also will educate student to respect and breeds responsibility. Next is monitoring student progress. It more to keep track on student progress and ensure student use time well. Research show that by Cotton 1988, students who assign regular homework have more attitude towards school, toward homework itself. The example of monitoring student progress is teacher working around during do now period and ask what about what they understand and so on. Next is establishing routine for collecting and checking classwork and homework. It is an important class routine should be implemented. When routine are used correctly, instructional time and student time on task both significantly increase. The example of routine is a student turn in homework first thing in the morning or period. The last is maintain good records. Teacher can develop their own system for recording student progress, which is by checking or grading all the works due by student every day, and also instruct student in proper editing, revision, and response procedure. So I think that's all from me. You will proceed with another presenter. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Susanna. Okay, now I will explain to you about the block scheduling. What is block scheduling? Block scheduling is a way of designing classroom schedule for students. Students will have a fewer class per day, and this scheduling allows the teachers and students to explore more deeper in the topic. Okay, now we will see the type of scheduling. Type of scheduling have two, which is traditional schedule and block schedule. And block schedule is divided into another two types, which is 4x4 block schedule and AB block schedule. AB block schedule also known as alternative block schedule. Okay, we go first to the traditional schedule. Traditional schedule is set up for a student to have 50 minutes of class time per subject and about 180 days of each class. It is result 9,000 minutes of the total class time. Next, we will go to the block schedule. First, we will see 4x4 block schedule. Okay, in this 4x4 block schedule, the student need to take 4 courses for the first semester and another 4 courses in the second semester. And the time for each classes is 90 minutes per classes and it is for 90 days. And the total of classes is 8,100 minutes. So overall, the student still take 8 subjects per year. Okay, next we will see AB block schedule. Okay, a school may have option for the schedule in which classes rotate by the day. In 1 year, the students still need to take 6 to 8 courses at one time. It depends on the school. Then, the class length is 90 minutes per class. Okay, for example, on Monday and Wednesday, the school will use a block A, which is mathematics, history, English, and physics. For the next day, which is Tuesday and Thursday, they will use block B. In block B, there is Bahasa Melayu, account, economic, and geography. And on Friday, they will rotate. For example, this week they use block A, next week they will use block B, and it will be rotated by the week. Okay, the advantage of the block scheduling is first, promote cooperative learning. Second is quality time in which the teacher can build a closer bond with the students since they have a long time period for each classes. Then more focus. When the student have a less class in a day, they will more focus on that topic or that subject. Okay, then less daily homework. Okay, for the less daily homework is in a day there is a less classes, so they will have a less homework compared to the traditional class which they have a few classes in a day and they have a lot of homework to finish in a day. Okay, next we go for individualized teaching. Individualized teaching is the teacher are able to teach one by one with the student who cannot cope with the subject or topic that being taught on that day. Okay, for the longer planning period, which means when they have a long time, so the teacher have a longer planning period to plan their teaching on that subject. Okay, the last one is opportunity for the use of varied instructional strategy. Okay, this is we can relate with us where we will teach in this 21st century. So we can use a lot of strategies to attract the student interest in the subject. For example, we can have a game, quiz, or something that can brainstorm their mind. Okay, next we go for the disadvantage or the problem that being faced for the block scheduling. First is lost continuity. It's clearly we can see in the AB block schedule. Okay, for the AB block scheduling, we can see that the subject need to wait for another day. There is no continuity, so they have a long time to go for the next subject. So this can cause the students forgot or cannot follow what they have learned before. They cannot bring or remember on what they have learned in the previous class. Okay, next, the greater loss if absent. Okay, when the student is sick, so they lost a lot in the classroom since the period of the time in the classroom is 90 minutes is quite long for one subject to have 90 minutes. So the teacher can finish one topic. So when the student is absent, they lost the whole topic for that day. So it's hard for us to catch up back with the topic. So, okay, next is too fast. Okay, it is apply for the slow learner. Okay, for the slow learner, they have a problem to catch up faster in the class, and they got a problem to follow the pace of the subject if the teachers teach too fast. Yeah, the teachers target want to finish the whole syllabus since they have about 90 minutes for class. So this type of student cannot follow the pace. So this is a few of the problem for the block scheduling. Okay, next we go for the tips for the block scheduling. Okay, first, don't lecture for 90 minutes straight. That means you need to have a break, or you need to have a Q&A for the student. So in 90 minutes, you also can get their feedback on what they have learned on that day. Second is breakout class, and even consider giving time to do homework in class. So you have a rest and you give a time for them to do homework. From this, you can see on how they did their homework. Okay. Next, we go for the foster a culture of collaboration and peer learning. Okay. In block scheduling, since they have a lot of time in a class, we can see they will use a student-centered learning. It is involve the peer learning around them, the peer learning. Okay. Okay, then switch activities every 50 or 20 minutes. Okay, this is related with the first step, which is don't lecture for 90 minutes straight. Okay, why you need to do this? Because you will lose their attention. Student can, for the student, their attention is about 1 minute or 3 minutes like that. When you teach them 50 minutes, it is considered for them to have their attention. But when you don't take a break for them, they will lose the attention. They will not interest to learn in that class. So you need to have activities every 50 or 20 minutes, which means you will have a discussions or giving them a quiz or anything else that will attract back their student attention. Then use a smart pacing guide, which is you need to follow the student pace that you can see on the slow learner and fast learner. How you need to do, what you need to do to gain or to follow their step by using just one pacing guide. Okay. And last one is plan. Under plan. Okay. That's all for this block scheduling. Thank you.
Oh, like that. In the conclusion, now I know what is to avoid and what is all time that we have in the school system. That's a good presentation. Well done, presenter. Bye.